let's welcome up Jake Myers!
Yeah! Hi everybody, my name's Jake. What's yours? I'm just kidding, we don't have time for that. Are there any history buffs in the room? A little bit? Does anybody know the name Ronald McNair? Oh, not the football player. Anyways, let's start the story back in 1959. Ronald McNair was a 9-year-old black child living in North Carolina. I don't remember or know if y'all have heard what it was like to be a 9-year-old black child in the late 50s, but it wasn't great. It wasn't. But anyways, Ronald was one of those kids who was just like good at everything. Like he was top of his class, he was a great athlete, he was really good at music. But what he loved more than anything else was space. And he dreamed about being an astronaut someday, right? But he didn't know how. So, brainstorm, I'm going to go to the local library. And he goes, and remember, the late 50s weren't great. It was one of those, like, whites-only libraries. And he was just like, I don't know, I'm a charming young man. Maybe I'll find one of those cool white lady librarians. That wasn't the case. Yeah, so he brings this big old stack of books up. It's all about like NASA and space and physics and all that shit. And he's really excited. But the lady behind the counter just like looks at him and tells him to go fuck himself, basically. Like, get the fuck out of here, I'll call the cops. Like literally if this lady was around today, she would be called Karen. But because it was the 50s, I'm gonna call her Nancy. And so Ronald just looks at her and he's like, you know what, cool, call the cops, I'll wait. And so she did, and the cops came down. And this might actually be one of the first times in history where cops were kind of chill. You know? They basically just like looked at Nancy and were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, he's a child, let him run these books. So reluctantly she did, and he's like so excited, he says thank you and runs away and just devours this shit over the next couple weeks. Fast forward a few years, he ends up graduating with a PhD in physics from MIT, immediately gets hired by NASA. Super cool, right? He's gonna live his fucking dream. A few years after that, he actually gets to go into space. 1984. He's only the second black person to ever go to space. It's kind of a big deal. And on top of that, he did such a good job out there that he got hired for another mission 2 years later. And I don't know if y'all remember how space travel was in 1986, but it wasn't great. Yeah, so Ronald and the rest of his crew ended up dying on the Challenger explosion. I know, it's super sad. But all I can think about during this entire story is like, if 1959 Nancy was just a little bit more racist, she might have been able to save that guy's life. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. But he got her back. Like, in like a couple years after the whole Challenger thing, like they ended up renaming that library after Ronald McNair. And I just hope that Nancy was still alive when it happened. Not her. Oh man. Alright, that's all my space stuff, so let's do some other jokes.